Rand regaining some of the losses seen on Thursday in mid-morning trade as the currency followed the direction of the US dollar. Let's get you some analysis. Rand Swiss portfolio manager Gary Booysen is with us now for more, Gary, on what is moving the markets, the Rand losing the gains made in the week.
Yeah, looking pretty weak at the moment. So, if you look against the US dollar, we're out to 19.30 currently, and that's a significant move. So we've traded a very, very tight range over the last, last couple of months, actually last couple of months. Sitting, really the lows have been around 18.70, and we get up to kind of that 19.20 level, but don't break through. And we're through that today. So it could be quite significant. It could prompt a move up to around 19.50. The reason for the move, we saw the sharp move happen, really after the U.S. initial jobless claims figures came out yesterday. It really just, I think, spoke to the narrative that the Fed, has the ability to leave interest rates a lot higher for a lot longer than people are expecting. We came into the year expecting around 7 rate cuts, and that's down to, I think the consensus is down to around 3. And, the first rate just continually gets pushed out. We've had some Fed speak also around the idea that the rate cuts will definitely not be in the next 2 months. So that also, I think, hurting the currency, mainly on the dollar side, but on the local side as well. We've also had, Eskom announce stage 4. We know that the currency is very, very sensitive to the various stages of load shedding. And I think, heading into an election, I think a lot of people were predicting that we'd see far less load shedding, and it doesn't really seem to be the case. And I think that's maybe got market participants a little bit scared. Yeah,
and stage 6 was not too long ago either, right? Shall we talk retail this afternoon as well, Gary? South African retailers calling on government to close tax loopholes that they believe are being exploited by the likes of e-commerce platform in China, Temu. What are these loopholes, and is this an industry that SARS should be looking into?
It's a good question. So normally, at the face of things, industries are always looking for more tariff protection, specifically domestic industries. And I suppose us as the consumers, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You want to protect the local industries. You want those industries to be able to deliver jobs. But at the same time, increasing tariff barriers makes products more expensive. So, being able to import cheap Chinese goods is great for us as a consumer. And generally, with an economist hat on, I would say, the free flow of goods and services is a net benefit to society. And I would probably advocate for lower tariff barriers. That said, the National Clothing Retail Federation is pointing out that it's almost that the couriers, specifically the local couriers, are avoiding paying, import duties altogether. They're avoiding paying VAT as well. So, obviously that's damaging the fiscus. We've just gone through the budget this week as well. We know what a desperate situation the South African finances are in. And really any way to raise a little bit of extra money is probably a good thing. So looking at, let's just take an import tariff on clothing, for example, that's at 45%. So, if you can essentially smuggle clothing into the country without paying on import tariffs, I mean, that gives you a significant advantage in terms of pricing. Those goods are going to be so much cheaper that local retailers just will not be able to compete. And that'll be unfair because many local retailers obviously do import, and they do pay the 45% tariff on goods that they're going to sell that are manufactured overseas. So definitely, we want to see compliance, and it's something that I think you want to see. You will have to see the regulatory authorities getting involved in.
Yeah, absolutely. Quantum Foods Holdings saying despite the impact of last year's avian flu, it did, I think, surprisingly see an improvement in trading conditions in the current period compared to the 4 months that ended in 31 January. Where would this company have seen these improvements?
So it's all sorts of different things. And I think it is an industry trend as well. So we saw it in the likes of Astral too. Quantum obviously far more focused on egg supply and egg production, but they've been huge progress in rebuilding essentially their breed flock. And, the kind of carryover is only going to affect around, 37 million birds in this period, 37 million rands worth of birds, at least in this period. But that said, there's been a huge supply, a drop in egg supply. So, comparing this period to the same period last year, the 4 months, you're seeing around a 60% drop in egg supply. So it has been a significant impact on the industry, but they are recovering well. And part of that has also been just, looking at areas that haven't been affected by the avian influenza and essentially sourcing production from independents as well. So that has helped Quantum, I suppose, weather the storm.
Yeah. You know, we've heard the term accounting irregularities with the likes of Marcus Jooste. Let's talk about Bytes Technologies, revealing that its former CEO, Neil Murphy, who resigned with immediate effect on the back of a share trading controversy, has close to 3 million in undisclosed company shares. It seems the resignation is a slap on the wrist, or what do you reckon?
I don't know if it's a slap on the wrist. Yeah, I think it actually sends quite a strong message, because I think the damage, done by something like Steinhoff, which was significant to shareholders, is a little bit different from what's happened here. This is not accountant fraud or something like this. This is really a compliance issue that, share trail deals weren't announced, through the reporting structures of the JSE, but it doesn't necessarily mean that shareholders were harmed through fraudulent accounting practices. So, I think at best it's probably negligence by the CEO. He definitely should have known better. It's very apparent that if you're an executive of a listed company, those kinds of transactions have to be reported. So at best, maybe it was an accident. I think maybe that's a little bit a little bit unbelievable. But at worst, it's a lack of ethics and integrity around the process. But I don't think that this would warrant jail time, for example. I think a resignation already is a very strict punishment, and probably maybe even a little bit more than deserved. I think he could have gotten away with a slap on the wrist, and this is fairly severe for the crime.
All right, just for the sake of our viewers, you will see the picture there at the bottom right-hand side of your screen. President Cyril Ramaphosa is doing a walkabout in Umlazi today. Of course, the party drumming up support ahead of its election manifesto launch tomorrow. Our reporter, Junior Kumalo, is there. Wow, kisses being blown even. President Cyril Ramaphosa in fine form as he tries to drum up that support, and certainly a lot of a much bigger crowd being seen than perhaps we saw outside that mall at Umlazi. Gary, as you and I wrap up our discussion, I want to just get your thoughts on Tugela Resources expecting its headline earnings per share to drop from 94.82 and 99.82 to 31 Rand and 36 Rand for the current period. Wow, that's a blow. What is weighing on the company's earnings?
Yes, so some of it is just the accounting inclusion. They've just acquired Ensham in Australia through Sungela, the Sungela vehicle. That deal went through 31st of August 2023, and they've bedded down around 80% of that currently. So that's part of it. But part of it will also be, and that kind of fits into their geographic diversification strategy. But part of it, I think, will also be just the difficulty there has been for specifically local energy companies like Tungela. We have we've got lower, essentially, commodity prices, which will impact the results as well. It wasn't in the trading statement, but I would expect that. And of course, we've seen with the likes of so many others that the Transnet situation is really, really critical for them. Difficult to import, at least difficult to export, difficult to move the coal around as well. So I think that certainly will be weighing on the company. But we'll find out more on the 18th of March when they release the results. That wasn't in the trading update, but I would expect that's what we're going to hear next month.
Gary Booysen, pleasure talking to you this afternoon. Thanks so much for that analysis. Gary is Rand Swiss's portfolio manager as we get to your latest in-market moves.